The conclave hall stretched 3 kilometers across the frozen moon of Kepler 442b, its crystalline walls humming with the collective consciousness of 47 species. Admiral Thexare of the Corvian Empire tapped his secondary manipulator against the obsidian podium, the gesture rippling through translation matrices as barely concealed amusement. The humans, he announced, mandibles clicking in what passed for laughter among his kind, have responded to our ultimatum. A murmur cascaded through the assembled representatives. The Xinthians chittered. The Borellian hive minds pulsed with shared mirth. Even the stoic crystalline collective seemed to shimmer with something approaching humor. "Let me guess," drawled Ambassador Catherine of the Illyrian Confederacy, her 3 eyes glinting beneath bioluminescent ridges. "They're sending their entire fleet?" "Better." Thexare projected the human transmission into the center of the hall. The hologram showed a single vessel, sleek, angular, barely 200 meters long. Compared to the kilometer-long dreadnoughts of the conclave, it looked like a child's toy. The hall erupted. Laughter, in 47 different modalities, echoed off the walls. "One ship," Thexare continued, struggling to contain his own amusement. "Against our armada of 2,000 vessels." The primitives named it Persistence. How quaint. The humans had been discovered only 3 cycles ago, still confined to their single star system, their fastest ships barely capable of half-light speed. They'd been given the standard ultimatum: submit to conclave authority or face annihilation. Every species eventually chose submission. Resistance was, quite literally, futile. "Should we even bother intercepting it?" asked the Xinthian swarm coordinator. "Perhaps we let it approach as a gesture of, what do humans call it, mercy?" Thexare's mandibles clicked again. "The conclave shows no mercy, only inevitability. But yes, we'll allow it to approach. Let them see what they face before we vaporize their pathetic vessel. Perhaps the survivors back on their blue world will learn wisdom." 3 days later, Persistence dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler system. The conclave armada waited in perfect formation, a wall of firepower that had subjugated 100 worlds. Thexare opened a channel from his flagship Infinite Sovereignty. "Human vessel, you are outmatched 2,000 to 1. Power down your..." "Admiral," his sensor operator interrupted, stalks quivering. "I'm reading, this can't be right." "Report." "The human ship's mass is increasing. Rapidly. It's already triple what it should be for a vessel that size." On the viewscreen, Persistence began to unfold. What they'd mistaken for a single ship was something else entirely. Panels separated, revealing recursive layers of compressed geometry. The vessel expanded like a flower blooming in fast forward, each petal revealing another dimension of impossible engineering. "It's using some kind of spatial compression," breathed the crystalline collective representative, their consciousness rippling with unprecedented confusion. "They've folded the ship through higher dimensions. What we saw was just the projection." Persistence continued to expand. 200 meters became 2 kilometers. Then 20. Then 200. "Sir," the sensor operator's voice had lost all trace of amusement, "it's not stopping." The human ship kept growing, its true form emerging like a behemoth rising from deep water. The conclave fleet, so imposing moments before, now looked like gnats hovering before a mountain. When Persistence finally stabilized, it measured 4,000 kilometers in length, large enough to be classified as a moon. Its hull shimmered with what appeared to be quantum-locked neutronium, a material the conclave had deemed theoretically possible but practically impossible to manufacture. A transmission crackled through every conclave vessel simultaneously. "Conclave forces, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the UESS Persistence. You're probably wondering how we went from barely achieving half-light speed to building this in 3 years." On their screens, a human woman appeared at slight, unimpressive by most species standards, but her eyes held something that made even Thexare's warrior instincts whisper warnings. "Turns out," Chen continued, "being confined to one star system for our entire existence meant we got really, really good at doing more with less. We developed technologies not because we could explore, but because we had to optimize. Every efficiency, every breakthrough, born from absolute necessity. The ship's weapons ports began to open. There were millions of them. You've spent millennia conquering and expanding. We spent millennia perfecting. You built big because you had the resources. We built smart because we had no choice. Chen's expression hardened. You laughed when we sent one ship. We're laughing because we only needed to send one. Thexaray's manipulators flew across his controls. All vessels, open fire. 2,000 ships unleashed hell. Energy beams that could crack planets, missiles that could shatter moons, exotic weapons that bent spacetime itself, all converged on Persistence. And were absorbed. The human ship's hull drank in the energy, its surface rippling with conversion matrices that transformed the attack into pure power. When the barrage ended, Persistence glowed like a newborn star. Thank you for the warm welcome, Chen said. Our capacitors were only at 30%. What happened next would be debated in Zena military academies for generations. Persistence didn't destroy the Conclave fleet, it disabled every single vessel simultaneously with a quantum-entangled pulse that specifically targeted their weapons and propulsion systems, leaving life support intact. Precision on a scale that should have been impossible. You have a choice, Chen's voice echoed through 2,000 crippled warships. Retreat now, or we demonstrate why humans called this ship Persistence. Because we don't quit. Not when the odds are against us. Not when you outnumber us. And certainly not when you threaten our home. Thexaray stared at his dead console, his military career evaporating like morning frost. Around the system, the Conclave fleet began their long, humiliating journey home using emergency thrusters. In the Conclave hall, the laughter had died. The galaxy had learned an important lesson that day: never underestimate a species that had spent millennia trapped in a gravity well, forced to make every atom count. Humans hadn't sent one ship because they were arrogant. They'd sent one ship because that's all they needed.